Welcome back, students. Today we are going to do part 3rd and the name of the chapter is Last Lesson. So now we are on page number 5th, and on page number 5th we will start with the very first paragraph. In our previous class we have discussed about that why these village people were sitting at the back benches. They were praying gratitude towards the master. What is the name of the master? The name of the master is Hamel. So it was their way of thanking the masters for his 40 years of faithful service. So now we are going to start. Let me start reading. While I was thinking of all this, here I stands for the main leading character, who is Franz. While he was thinking of all of this stuff, he heard his name called. Who called his name? His teacher, Hamel. And why it was so? Because now he is going to ask the question. So it was my turn to recite. Now it was turn of Franz to recite the whatever the topic they were discussing on that day. And he was having the test of participles. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rules of the participles all through? So it was turn of Franz to start reading, to start reciting about participles. But he was so scared because he doesn't know anything about that. And he was supposed to read it very loud and clear and without a single mistake. But I got mixed up on the very first word and stood there. He was just standing there and he got mixed up. He was confused on the very starting word of participles. Holding on to my decks, he was holding his decks very tightly and his heart was beating very fastly, not daring to look up. So he was looking down. He was not having the dare to look up. I heard Hamel say to me. Now Hamel is saying something. I want to scold you. Hamel is saying that I am not going to reprimand you, scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. Why Franz is going to feel bad enough? Because he knew that from tomorrow onwards he is not going to read or learn French language anymore. See how it is. Earlier also we have discussed this point. Every day we have said to ourselves, bah, I have plenty of time. Generally children use this thing. Mama, I will do study tomorrow. Oh, I have done enough of today. I will do this work tomorrow because we have plenty of time. I will leave it tomorrow. So generally students leave every of their topic for tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. And now you see that from tomorrow onwards we will not be able to learn our language. And that is the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. This is the problem of today's generation. And now these fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretend to be a Frenchman and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. Now other people are going to make fun of these people and they are going to say that how it is like you say that you are a Frenchman and you can't even write and speak your own French language. How you can say that you are a Frenchman? But you are not the worst, poor little friends. We have all a great deal to approach ourselves with. So all are going to face the consequences. It is not all about the student's life, but others are going to face the consequences too. Next paragraph, very important one. Start marking along with me. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. Now we will have the question that there are 3 persons to whom Hamel had blame. Very important question for your board exams. So Hamel had blamed 3 different persons to whom he is going to blame that because of them the children are not able to study. First is the parents of the children. They were not so excited enough. They were not so concerned enough to let children study. They prefer to put you work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. So what these parents used to do, they used to send the children to the farm, and what they used to ask them to do some work in farm or to start working at mills too, so that they can earn some more money. So the first person to whom he blame is parents because they are not ancient enough to send their children to learn more. Second, and I have been to blame also. I have been to blame also is, he is saying that I am going to blame myself too. So here the teacher is going to blame himself, that is M. Himmel. Why he is saying that I am also supposed to be blamed for not letting you study? Okay, I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? Many a times it has happened that he has sent his own children, his school children, to go and water my plants, okay, instead of learning their lessons. Whenever he used to get some free time, he used to send his children, his school children, to go and start doing his work like watering the flowers instead of learning. And one more thing, and when I went to go fishing, didn't I just give you a holiday? And whenever M. Himmel wants to go for fishing, he used to give holiday. So for parents, we are going to say that they were not anxious enough. They were not anxious enough to send the children to learn. And for M. Himmel, we will say that he used to send the students. In place of students, we can use pupil word also. That is also nice word. He used to send the students or pupil to water flowers. Okay. Or whenever he wants to go for fishing. Complete this by your own. Whenever he wants to go for fishing, then he used to give the holiday to the children. Okay. Now we are left with the third one. Who is the third person who is supposed to be blamed? Then from one thing to another, M. Himmel went on talk to the French language, saying it was the most beautiful language. And the third one is the children themselves. This thing he has already cleared. So this is the children themselves, because they always say that we have lot of time, plenty of time. I will study tomorrow. So here M. Himmel is discussing somewhere about the importance of French language. Then he told them that who is supposed to be blamed for not learning properly and all that. Now from one thing to another, he kept on talking relating to French language. And he said that, important again, it was the most beautiful. What is the most beautiful? French language is the most beautiful language in the world according to M. Himmel. The clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it. Now there is one more very important long question. According to M. Himmel, the language which is most clearest, the most logical language is French language. This line we are supposed to learn. We will use it in our answer. And he is saying that we should always guard it. That means we should learn it with respect, and we should know how to speak, how to write this language properly. And we should never forget it, because, mark it, when a people are enslaved, so we will get the long question relating to importance of language. This all lesson is about the importance of language, and the word will be linguistic chauvinism. So we are going to read this word at the end, when at the completion of this whole story. We are going to discuss the question answers in our next video. So there I am going to tell you about all of this important questions again. So what is mentioned over here is that when the people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So what he is saying that if you know about your language, if you can speak your language, if you can write your language, and you are having the hold of your language, then you can save yourself. No one can make you a prisoner. No one can hold you. Then he opened a grammar. Then what M. Himmel is doing? He opened his grammar book and he started teaching about grammar. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. Now Franz is very amazed. He is unable to understand. How come today I am able to understand everything? I am able to infer the meaning of each and every word very easily today. All he said seemed so easy. Today, each and every topic was appearing very easy to him. So easy. I think too that I had never listened so carefully. Today he has realized that he had never listened his all lessons very carefully. That is the reason earlier these studies were burden for him, and that he had never explained everything with much so patience. And Hamel had not explained all of these things earlier with a lot of patience that today he is doing. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give all he knew before going away, to put it into our head at one stroke. So what he is saying, at one stroke means at once, in one go. Stroke at what is there? At one stroke. At one stroke means in one go. Okay, in one go. So he wants to, or you can say at once also. You can say at once. So here it was looking like Hamel wants to teach everything. He wants to get everything in our head at one time. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. That day, Hamel had new copies for us written in beautiful round hands. France, Alsace, France, Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom. The schoolroom was decorated with the flags too, hung from the rod at the top of our desks. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. Everyone were enjoying their language today. Everyone were learning, and it was so quiet on that day. The only sound was the scratching of the pen. Scratching, they all were writing. So it was this kind of a sound. Fine. It was the scratching of the pens over the paper. Once, some, even the littlest one, who worked right on tracing their fish hooks as if that was French too. So there were some little children also who were also learning some points, who were also learning, working on their language at that time. On the roof, now again, somewhere some important line. He heard that the pigeons were cooed very low. Cooed is sound of the pigeons. So what he heard the sound of pigeons. Okay. And what he was thinking, France is thinking that will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons. Now he is asking questions. I know that the German people are going to teach us German language from tomorrow onwards, and there will be no French language. Okay, fine, they are doing this with us. Now, are they going to force our animals also that you can't coo, that you can't produce the sound of yours in French language, you are supposed to sing in German language. Are they going to do that too? Why? Why they are doing this with us then? Whenever I looked up from my writing, whenever he was writing and he used to look up towards Hamel, he was sitting motionless in his chair. Gazing first at one thing, he was gazing at one thing and then at another thing. It was looking like he wants to take the memory of each and every place, as if he wanted to fix everything in his mind, just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. It was like he wants to recapture everything. Fancy, for 40 years he had been here in the same place. He is the one who built that garden even. With his garden outside the window. That is the reason it was mentioned, his garden. In the starting also his garden was mentioned. Because he is the one who made that garden. He has planted all that flowers. He has watered that flowers for 40 years. And his class is front of him. And he was looking at his class in front of him just like that. Only the desks and benches had been worn smooth. Now earlier the benches were very new, that is the reason the surface was very rough, but now the benches and desks are even very smooth. The walnut trees in the gardens are taller and the hope vines that we had planted himself twisted about the window to the roof. So everything has grown up, the gardens have even, the garden wherever we were having the trees, different type of trees that are become that are taller now. And what is mentioned, how it must have broken his heart to leave it all. He must be feeling very sad. He must be very distraughted because now he is going to leave everything. To hear his sister moving about in the room above. He was having his room above this classroom only, and he was hearing his sister voice, Hammel's sister voice, who was packing everything. Packing their trunks, for they must leave the country the next day, because tomorrow they are going to leave this country. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. But still he was having the courage. He was paying full attention towards his children, and he was listening to his children. After the writing, we had a lesson in history. And then the babies chanted their ba, baby, bo, boo. So it is all about their alphabets. As I told you, they were having the primary language book with them. So there were some younger children too, and they were chanting their alphabets. Down spectacles and holding his primer in both the hands. Primer, basic language book. He was holding his primer in both of his hands, and his spectacle was little down. Spelled the letters with them. He was spelling that ba, baby, bo letters with that younger children. You could see that he too was crying. How we come to know that Hamel was crying? Because his voice was trembling with emotions, and it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry, and it was like the way he was speaking. Because of that, his voice was trembling. So students were feeling like to laugh, but they were not laughing. They were too crying. They were also feeling so bad. How well I remember it, the last lesson. This is the last lesson that Friends has learned. At once, the church clock struck 12. Now it is 12 o'clock. Then the English you can say the prayer song in the church. Okay. So after the church clock struck 12, the English started, the prayer song started. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from the drill. In the starting, I told you that the Prussian soldiers were drilling. Now they are coming back. There is a sound of the trumpets too. Sounded under our windows. Hamel stood up. He stood up. He was looking very pale, yellow, in his chair. I never saw him so tall. What is it? My friends, said he. He paused for a little. But something choked him. He was unable to speak. He couldn't go on. He wanted to speak something, but he was unable to do so. And then he returned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and what he did? Bearing on with all his might, bearing with all of his power, he was trying to stand tall. He wants to say something, but he was not having that much energy. So what he did? He stood up in front of everyone. He was having a piece of chalk in his hand, and he turned towards his blackboard. Okay, he turned towards his blackboard, and what he did? He wrote as large as he could. What he wrote? He wrote "We love France." What does it mean? It means is long live France. Then he stopped. He wrote this and then he stopped and leaned his head. He leaned his head against the wall. So he was standing and he leaned his head against the wall. Okay. And without a word, he made a gesture to us with his hand. And what he did? He made a gesture to us with his hand. That this is the end. School is dismissed, everyone. You may go. And he said that now school is dismissed. You all can leave. And I want my friends to leave long. This is the end as per Hamel. So today we have covered this chapter, the last lesson. In my next class, I am going to discuss some important question as well as summary of this same chapter so that you can prepare yourself for your board exams. If you consider that you have learned something today, then you can like and subscribe my channel too. See you later in my next class, everyone. Thank you.